No.
All right, Abby, tell us about yourself.
I'm Abby, and I am the director and instructor for the Clinton County Adult Education. I'm out of Frankfurt, and I'm part of Laura.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right, Marcia, did we get to you?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
I'm the one in East Chicago with the seal
Okay.
note.
All right. And I just
And
didn't write
actually,
down the name.
I should say it's a union benefit. So it's really you know, that's an important part. We're there because the union negotiated this program.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We had two joiners. Justin, we are doing introductions with name, program, and your role.
I'm one of the 10 people in this meeting that are affiliated with Laura. I'm Justin Henry. I'm the marketing and development director at Laura. And I've actually worked a lot with Neil over the past 10 months to get things going at Laura.
Fabulous.
And I can I make the assumption that David Henry is your dad?
He is my father. At work, we call him Big Mr. Henry, and I am Little Mr. Henry.
There you go. Yep.
Nothing based on size whatsoever, though, right?
I hadn't met
Oh, no, he's
him
got like
yet,
a foot on me.
Oh, he does. Wow. That's awesome.
Christine, I think you were a late joiner. We're doing introductions with name, program, and role. You're muted.
That habitually. My name is Christine Gertner. I'm an adult education instructor in Michigan City for the A.K. Smith Career Center, part of Michigan City area schools, Michigan City, Indiana. And I'm a virtual teacher. I only teach virtually.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. We love Michigan City. My wife and I go up that part of the state on many occasions typically. So we've spent quite a bit of time in Michigan City.
Oh, good.
And I'll take this opportunity to make sure everyone has heard that the conference has officially moved dates. We have moved to the fall. It'll be September 29th, September 30th, and October 1st. And we are still going to Blue Chip in Michigan City. So if you hadn't heard that yet, woohoo!
Yeah, a long commute for Christine to get to the conference.
Oh yeah, she's gonna.
We went to I can't think of the name of it for all those years. But
French Lick.
French Lick, yes.
Yeah, French Lick. That was beautiful though. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I think it'll be good up at Blue Chip as well.
Yeah.
I think I have gotten everyone, but if you didn't, feel free to send me a note in chat. We are going to take questions via the chat. So if you think of it, if you have a question, go ahead and send it to, you can send it to everyone in chat. You don't have to change it to just me. Send it to chat, and then I will field them to Neil as they come in. And right now, I'm going to turn it over Neil to introduce himself and take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Jen, and thank you everybody for being here for today. I'm going to have you go ahead and put your video there on mute so that we don't get any weird noises coming through from the background. But you know, if a question comes up, we need to chat. I just unmute yourself, and we'll jump in and get things rolling. So yeah, I'm Neil Richmond, based sort of over by the airport in Indy, in that area. And I'm an educator myself. I have nearly 20 years in education, mostly in high schools. And my wife, Amy, whom I think many of you have met, is a longtime adult education educator. She was HSE coordinator and has been a teacher over the years for Wayne Township Adult Ed. And that's sort of what plugged me into adult ed. And we're both very passionate about helping programs to just get all the tools they need so they can reach more students, connect them with the program, and the opportunities that their life can have by whatever that is. I've seen the stories of students who came to this country struggling with English and have gone through a program, learned English, got their high school equivalency, done career training, and gotten a job that they love as a result of adult education in this state. And so that's exciting to me. And so we're passionate about helping programs do more of that. And so that's why I offered to Jen to say, let's do this, because when I go talk to programs, they don't have a Justin Henry on board who can solve a lot of problems for them. Many times they just don't have somebody. And so we've worked out a lot of different things to help programs sort of move themselves forward. And just want to be able to share those and dialogue about that. And not just from me, if you guys have got things that you've done that have worked well, on particular topics, no fixed agenda, although I've got some things to share if we have time and you're interested. But just want to show examples, talk about things that can and can't be done, and be able to help you out as this, I guess, second half of the year gets going here for you. Again, you could put questions in the chat, either as we're going along, talking through stuff, or just, even on a separate topic that we can dive into as well. So I don't see anything in there at this stage. So I don't know if there's anything that anybody wanted to throw in to get the ball rolling. I have two, if you notice here, I've got two of the windows taken up because I do have a quotes whiteboard that I can write on, because I do like to sometimes write notes or sort of draw stuff out. Not always legible though, so I apologize for that in advance, but it helps to communicate sometimes. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to dive in on, oh no, wrong screen. Got all these screens up. I was going to just dive in on a couple things to start with here, unless there's anything that to jump in on first. Jen, is there anything that's come up?
There has been a question put in.
Good.
What programs do you recommend or YouTubes to skill up on digital skills?
Yeah, and I think, Jen, you have some as well that you can recommend, right? The Google Digital. What was that? Is that Digital Garage?
Digital skills.
So this one's a little different actually, but this one could be useful for something I thought we'd talk about a little bit. But this is actually this is digital marketing skills. So this would be ways to get the word out about your program. So there's some good stuff there on that. But just the Google Digital Skills. So I guess here's a good thing I'd love to know, a little poll question to put in the mix there. How many of you Google in your program? So you use Google for your email and calendar and all that sort of thing. And how many people use Microsoft? I'd love to know where everybody stands on that, because that sort of influences usually what you use. So how many are Google and how many are Microsoft out there?
I am doing you a poll right now.
All right, great. Because I see a Google in the chat there and a Microsoft, a couple more. So I think all Lara, that's Microsoft, correct? So let's see here. The chat is up. The poll is up. You can go in and vote and that sort of thing. So we're 50-50 right now with that. Come back around. So obviously, if you're with Google, a lot of things are there already. This I think is a pretty good resource. It's got a lot of educational related things, but some of this relates to lower learning. But if you notice over here on the left, you can filter to adult learners. And so now it's just going to show you stuff that's relevant for adult learners. And this is Applied Digital Skills. I'm going to copy this URL and I'm going to put it into chat. And you can copy it off for yourself there. I think that's the easiest way to do that. Here's that URL. So another one, if we can, when we get that poll sorted, let's throw up another one. I'd love to know how many people are using Zoom in their program, how many people are using Google Meet, and then the third choice would be another. with that. So it looks like Google on the poll here is slightly ahead of that. So that's close on that side, but a little more Google people here than Microsoft. So how many are using Google Meet on this poll? Google Meet, Zoom, or some other solution that's out there? And I will say, I personally use Google Meet. Now I use both Zoom and Google Meet. Personally, I use Google Meet for most of my meetings, mostly because it integrates with all my tools, and it takes just a second to get up and running on it. And the features are a little different, although they're getting closer and closer with all that. But I did find this really cool resource. So the poll's up there if you want to throw in your 2 cents worth on what you use. So Zoom right now, from the few that have voted. And I got a feeling Zoom will be probably high on that list, but I'm interested if there's any others being used right now. So 5 out of 6, 100% Zoom. Yep. All right. So good. We'll talk more about Zoom for you guys then. There's no need to talk about much of the other things that are out there. So Zoom has some really good resources. So yeah, 100% Zoom. Wow. That's pretty cool. But Zoom has some good resources here. This is one, it's a PDF, and I'll put the link to the PDF into the chat as well. And you can feel free to grab it. I think they have a few more of these. And they have a site, educating guide, getting started on Zoom. I'll come back to the PDF here in a second. But they do have training materials on their site that can be fairly basic to get somebody starting if you need that. So that's that document, which I'll put in chat as well. That's sort of your getting started one there. But the one that I thought was interesting is they do this newsletter specifically for educators, trying to give some tips and tricks on how to use Zoom. I mean, it's a challenge some days. I did a meeting with somebody today who is not particularly technology adept, and it was really hard just to get them to work out how to share the screen. And so if you're got students who are struggling with the technology side, especially if you're doing the remote classes and that, like Christine is, one idea that I've come up with is sort of to put a graphic up on the screen when you first start that orients everybody to where all the tools are that they'll need. So it's a screenshot of the Zoom screen and showing the different buttons and chat and whatever else they would need to know. It highlights that, and you put that up on the screen as they arrive, so that you're orienting the students and sort of teaching them where everything is when they are new to it and that sort of thing. But I thought this was good because even though it's not directly pitched at adult education, there's some great tips in here, like have you used the whiteboard feature inside Zoom? When you go to sharing, you can share a whiteboard, or if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can directly share that device into Zoom using the share button, and it's all right there and available for you. And so that's important to know that there's some things like that. And so what I typically do is I'm helping people to say, look, if you want to learn more about the whiteboard, I would take that and I would do a Google search, using Zoom whiteboard, and then look at the results. Starting a whiteboard, Zoom Help Center. And Zoom does a really good job of them breaking this down and showing you what it's going to look like on certain devices. There's the pictures, click share screen, click whiteboard, and so on down the line. So I think that's a helpful tool there. It even talks about if you have 2 monitors. I use 2 monitors. I have this one I'm sharing on, but I have another one to the left. And if you're doing a lot on Zoom, from a tech perspective, I would definitely recommend you get a second monitor. It's a little more complicated to set up, but boy, having two monitors allows you to have one where you're showing what you want to show, and then another one that you're like, using a theater as an example. You've got what the crowd sees with the curtains open, and then you've got what happens on the side around the actual play or event that's being performed. And to be able to have that set up for yourself is really handy. And it's not terribly difficult to set up a second monitor. I won't say it's easy, but it's not terribly difficult to do that. But these sort of resources, I think, are really helpful for that. So let me ask, does anybody have any great Zoom resources that they've come across that they'd like to share with us to be able to sort of help in the teaching and using of Zoom?
I am watching the chat for that.
All right. Yeah.
I did put a little tip in there about copying and pasting, but you can actually save the chat. There are three buttons, three little dots, and whenever you hover over them, they say more, and you can save the chat so that you can come back to all of the links that Neil has given you once we have completed. Of course, I'll make this available to you afterwards, but it is a great way to keep track of your class if you're having students answer through or do attendance through. Yeah.
That's definitely a great tip. And the fact that you can upload files right next to the three little dots in the chat is the place to upload files. That's can be handy as well. If you're offering students a worksheet or something like that, and you want them to be able to grab that, that can be done from there, which is real good. Any Zoom specific questions you'd like to talk about? And here, by the way, is great. This PDF. Look at all these great links and support, for chat, for annotating, for the whiteboard feature, for sharing a screen, for creating those cool virtual backgrounds like Jen has, and stuff like that. This one has a lot of links for that. So, all right. So I don't see much more question-wise on that. So we might move on from Zoom a little bit here. And just remember the Google learning area here. There's so many cool things that you can dive into on that that can be useful as well. And I don't know if that answered the original question completely. We may have gotten a little bit off on it, which I tend to do, and I apologize for that. Do you recommend on YouTube to skill up on digital skills? YouTube is so fast moving that anything I would have recommended has probably been outdated, especially over this last year. But you know what? I'm going to put that on the to-do list for future. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the YouTube resources that could be valuable when it comes to tech. So either stuff you can share with students that's useful, or on the other side, things that you can be using to skill up, or I guess even having a student skill up on their digital skills. One of the things that COVID has taught us, and when I say us, I think, the world in general, but in adult ed world, what I've discovered is it has forced the staff and students of adult ed programs to skill up when it comes to their digital know-how. It really has, because there's just so many things have had to move off of being face-to-face. And so over and over again, we've been challenged to help solve that problem. And I want to be clear, just one thing I meant to say up front that I didn't say. I'm doing this because I love adult ed, and I want to help programs to get the tools they need. I'm not doing this to sell any of the solutions that we particularly provide for adult ed. I'm going to show you some of the stuff because it works, and I'm excited about what we're doing. But I'm not here to sell my stuff. I'm just here to help. So if at all you feel like I'm trying to pitch you on something, I'm not. I'm just showing some of the stuff that we've been able to do in the last year that has help programs to sort of take the next step. And that's an important part of the whole process and looking forward with that, because I was challenged last year to come up with a way to help programs, adult ed especially, be able to engage and enroll students still. And so we built something that does that. And the point of it is just to sort of be able to continue to move forward in a digital space instead of just being face to face anymore. And I'll share some things around that a little bit later. So one thing that I did want to jump in on, there's a constant, it's a regular topic that we have to deal with. And I'm going to switch gears a little bit because I want to draw. Let me see if I can make all this happen here. Some days technology is not friendly for me as well, but we should be good here. All right. Should be seeing my little whiteboard up there on the screen now with all of that. I want to talk a little bit about outreach. Let me get that a little bit skinnier. It's an important one, and to me, obviously, if a program is not bringing in new students, at some point it will start to wither up and die off. So the lifeblood of any program is continually putting in new students and adding new students in there. So here's how I look at that. There are two parts to this, and there's a dividing line. There's the outreach strategy, and then there's what I call the next step. And what we have to do as we're looking at this is we have to sort of differentiate those two and have a plan for both of them. But otherwise, we're going to get ourselves in trouble because we will be focused one way and not the other way, and we'll get ourselves in trouble there. So here's what I wanted to think about. I'm going to share with you some slides on this, some actual strategies. So we'll come back to that in a minute. But there's some really cool things that we've done, and I have no doubt there are some cool things that you guys have done as well. And I want to hear some of those about what you've done that has effectively led to students coming in the door. And however that looks, I'd love to hear some of those. So we'll come back around to that. But what I think is important when you think about that, and what I wanted to emphasize here was, so if you put outreach materials in the community or in different places, what do you have them do next? So what are some of the things you could do? You could have them call. What else? So if you're asking them to take a next step, what else could they do? They could call, and then you can pop these in the chat. Go to a website. What else? Anything else? What else do you do when you have a call to action for students to go somewhere? All right. Yep. Stop by. Okay. Yes. Email in. Great. What else? Send a text. Yeah, that's a great idea. Text. Any others? Probably there's a few others out there, but to me, that probably exhausts the majority of what we could be doing. Oh yeah, I know. We could have a, yes. So intro session. I'm going to call that a all right. But it could be like a Zoom meeting. these days. It could be just to establish time and place where they could do that and that sort of thing. Yeah, open house, I would say, would be stopped by the program. It's similar to that. Yeah, I'm going to say I'll put something there on Facebook, because they could inquire through there with all of that. And that certainly happens. We do see that in Facebook Messenger. That's a good list. Great. Thank you for that, because that's important. So here's the thing I wanted to think about that's important. When you put these outreach things together that we're going to go through here in a minute, what you have them do next is really important. And what we've found is if you give too many different ways, the system often falls apart or breaks. And so for me, these are the couple that I really like, that I think can be most effective, and can do the job that needs to be done. I'm a huge fan of sending people to the website and filling in a form. And I would say definitely, unless there's a reason, very rarely would you send them to your homepage, because most people's homepage is too cluttered with things, and the student doesn't know what to do next. So, for example, for one of our programs, what we have them share is it's adulted.info/start. That's what you do as a student. That's your next step. And ironically, for Wayne Township, who this is who we do this for, if somebody calls in, that's where we tell them to go. If somebody stops by the program, we give them a computer and we have them go to that page. If somebody emails in, we send them to that page. And if somebody goes to the website and chats, we send them to that link. It's consistency. It's about having the same plan of attack with that. And then you're able to collect everything in one place and be able to manage it from there. If somebody goes to Facebook and sends a message in, we send them to that place, because that's a starting point for things. So that's the important thing I want to say, because I have seen some promotional materials out there that are, for example, I would not put on a billboard, for example, or one of those yard signs. I would not put an email address on there. It's just too hard for people to go. If you have a big, long website, how can you find a shorter version of that? So I have, for myself, I have neilrichmond.com, but that's long. And guess what? Everybody messes up the fact that I have a U and not an O in my name. And so I ended up buying neilr.me. And then if I have a link, I can make my website so much shorter, and it's more likely to be spelled. So those are just some little ideas that we've experienced that we think is helpful when it comes to that side of things. All right, I'm going to jump out of here. And as always, again, as we're going, if you have questions, please send them into the chat there. But I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to share a few things we put together that might be helpful when it comes to this topic right here. No, I don't want to do that. Present. There we go. All right. So here's a few student outreach strategy ideas that might be helpful. My lovely wife and graphic designer, Amy, put this together for me. I said, just get me a couple little pictures, and she went all out with it. So it's pretty cool here. So number one, Facebook. I do think that Facebook, and we find Facebook to be a really good tool. Here's the thing though, you've got to be very particular about how you use it. So here are our suggestions. We suggest joining multiple chat groups. So where I live in Canby, near Mooresville, we have a lot of community chats. Heartland Crossing community chat where we live. We have the Mooresville community chat. There's ones for like Plainfield and other areas around. So we recommend joining those, and we recommend joining those, the third point on there, as you, not as your program, as a person, because I think that makes a difference. It's a real person in there. The other thing that you need to be aware of is a lot of these programs, a lot of these chat groups, they have rules about promotion and different things like that. Be sure to let the administrators know that you are with an educational program. That usually makes a difference, we've found. We've found that helps on that side of things. Make sure you include the link, not only on the piece, but actually a clickable link in the text that you use. That's really important. And then one of the things that we've done is if people get tagged, and this is so funny sometimes, if you've seen this, where like something gets posted and all of a sudden they're tagging all these different people. We've found that direct messaging the people who are tagged through Facebook Messenger is really effective as well, to reach out to them personally and say, hey, such and such tagged you on this post. I just wanted to see if this might be of interest. If so, here's what we should do, et cetera, et cetera. You'll notice there, we have one in Spanish posted. This was to drive students to the ELL classes. And then a key component of that is having the link right there, so they know where to go with that. Here's a couple others that we've built over time. So that one on the left there was for the HSE program. Again, the URL is right there on the ad, the promotional piece, but we also put it in the text above so you can click straight on it and go straight to that page. That's really important as well. Then one for one of the career trainings for being a paraprofessional educator. So that was one of the ones that was done there. And then one for the boot camp program that Wayne Township does, which is sort of the quick HSE program. So these are different ones. You know, they require different amounts of information depending on what you're looking at there. So second thing would be flyers. Lots of different things you can do. This is one that we made for Fort Wayne Community Schools, their adult ed program. We, you know, leave them in areas of high need. Think about your community and think about where your potential students hang out more than anywhere else. And go put those flyers there, or if you need to get permission, talk to the people. You know, restaurants often will have pin-up boards. That's a great spot. Laundromats are another great spot. Apartment buildings are another great spot. And even partnering with some of them. I mean, we've had programs, we've had school districts who have included a flyer of the adult ed services with every student to take home. That's a really good strategy as well. Again, make sure you put the link on where they need to go to get started. What's the link to get the information they need? And then the third thing here is just don't put too much. And I'd say we're probably a little full on this one, but we wanted to highlight the 3 programs that are available. And so that's why that one has as much on it as it does. Any questions that I need to know about, Jen? We'll keep cruising.
Keep cruising.
All right. Okay, here's a couple more. This was a flyer designed to help people get their HSC finished. And you know, it was a quick focus one on that on the left. And then again, that one you saw earlier, this is the English version of the Learn English on that side of things. So these are flyers that are out and about on that side of things. Then the third thing I would suggest here is that you carry a card, a business card, that is. And so here's, again, this is one that we did for Wayne Township. This is something that could be given to anybody that you run into. And here's the thing: if you see a student, potential student, and you're talking to them and they're excited about it and that sort of thing, if it was me, well, probably if it wasn't me, if it was my wife, because I don't have these conversations a lot. Amy does. If it was Amy, she was more than likely pull out the telephone, pull up the URL, and have them fill in their information right on the spot. That truthfully, that's the best strategy. Gets them in the system, and then we can start to talk to them a little bit more. But the next best thing, and especially if somebody says, hey, I've got somebody that I think should come to your program, have a business card, a nice business card that's clear, that's simple. Get 1,000 of them printed or more, and just give them out everywhere. You'd be surprised how many people pick that up somewhere along the way. Again, make sure you include the link to join, and don't put too much information. Don't try to say everything you do. Remember, they can click and go to the website to learn more, and just think about that in the big picture of things. All right, let me see here. I got more. That's it, I think. Yeah, that's all I had on this one. So there's just a few ideas that I thought would be helpful. Any thoughts, any questions on that? Has anybody else got some great things that they've done in sort of in those categories or in some of the others we talked about that you'd love to share with us? Because I'd love to hear them myself.
I'll take a hand raise or something in the chat.
Yeah.
Just
Okay, can you guys hear me?
yeah. Janet, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, just one sec.
Oh, she has to go get a
It's
visual
it's-
aid.
Oh,
I love it.
I like that.
a
I like the
visual.
visual aid.
Okay. Well, when we updated our flyers and our business cards, we put a QR code on them.
Yep.
So it can be
Oh, we lost.
and it goes just directly
Okay.
to our web form that somebody could fill out. Okay.
Awesome.
That somebody could fill out an inquiry. And also we've got the QR code on our business cards. So we've got the frequently asked questions, and people can fill out if they're interested in our program.
Awesome. So if you don't know how to make a QR code,
So we're excited about that.
yeah, that's great. This is a great website, qrstuff.com, where you can generate a QR code. And you can download that after you put in the URL. You can download the code. You can even get creative if you want and like put your logo in the code itself and things like that. But on a basic level, QR Stuff is a great resource for you to be able to create QR codes to quickly help people. Here's the one thing I'll say about QR codes. Not enough people know how to use them. Many do not. So I like to put the QR code and then underneath it, put the URL just as a backup. And that way you cover all your bases. But it is quick. Okay. And when you got fat fingers on a small phone, you hit the wrong keys all the time. Much easier if you can just scan a code. So thanks. That's a good one, Janet.
Mhm.
Anyone else have anything they wanted to share on that topic? Other ideas? And I know that this probably is this tech, maybe not, but the whole idea here is to sort of like opening the world of technology up and providing resources and different things like that. So that's why I shared some of that, because it is a common question. It's something Jen and I've talked about a number of times about one of the biggest needs that programs have is attracting more students and working out ways to do that. And of course, I didn't even mention the fact you can run Facebook ads. You very effectively, you could create a post and then share that as an ad. The one thing I'll tell you, having run thousands of ads for clients, your audience is the most important part of that ad. Don't let, Facebook is good and helpful, but they like to take money as well and not give you much back. And so the number one reason for that most people don't get stuff back is their audience is not right. So, you don't want everybody, in the United States within, from the ages of 18 to, to 64 plus to attract to your program. You want to specify a lot more than that. So picking an audience is real good, but that's a great way to attract students. Here's a couple more. And this is one of my favorite ways to attract students to your program. Rank well on Google. I mean, I love it, but it's not easy to do. So here is Career Training Indianapolis. So that's one that's, you know, people are looking for opportunities to expand their career and that sort of thing. And with that, we've got, you know, places that are for profit doing this. The Walker Career Center probably connects in with the adult ed. We've got DWD, we've got Next Level Jobs and all that sort of thing. But we've been able to successfully rank Wayne Township's career training page on the first page of Google. That leads to students coming in. Wayne Township is a big program, I get that. But you know, they have a waiting list every time career training opens of 1,000 or more students. And they come from a variety of sources. And one of those is doing a Google search. So that's important. You know, that's career training. Here's high school equivalency. And then here's Wayne Township adult education right at the top of the map right there on that side of things. So having the ability to do some of those, be showing up on some of those searches is important, because I know what I do, and I think some of you do the same thing. When you're looking for something, what do? You Google it. And I got to think students are probably doing that. And I mean, I don't know that HSE Indianapolis is probably the best phrase. You know, get my high school diploma or something along those lines. And how, you know, making that happen is a whole nother conversation that we could have another day, but it might be more technical than anybody really wants. But having a page on your website that addresses those questions is the simplest way to eventually show up in search. And making sure the URL is of that. That really helps with that. Another idea that I think is helpful for programs, and this certainly gets into more of the tech space and that sort of thing. So, you know, here's Fort Wayne Community Schools, their site. Buried inside Fort Wayne Community Schools, when you go through here and go to continuing education, is the adult ed program. And so they brought us in to help them get their own world, so to speak, and have all of that. And so there are links off of here now, but now Fort Wayne Community Schools Adult Education has its own website, fwcsadulteducation.us. And then now students are able to directly start into their enrollment process into the program. And this leads into the product that we've built that helps programs to enroll students remotely. We take them all the way through to get to their testing through these steps. But now they've got a way to guide students. And eventually what we'll have them do is on this site where it says continuing education, that will go straight to the Fort Wayne Community School Adult Ed page. So having a website that stands out, and we've been able to do that for a lot of programs. In the last couple of months, we did this for Fort Wayne. We did it for Crawfordsville in Region 4. We helped them get out of their school district website and get onto their own 2 feet. So we think that's a really important strategy as well, because it will be very hard to rank on Google when you're buried inside a school district website, and hard to find at times. Wayne Township, this is the homepage for Wayne Township. You know, we drive them through a number of doors, but the get started is where we want them to go. And then down here, depending on the program they're interested in, they can be driven to the door to get started for that program. So that's an important part of it as well, to communicate that. And loud and clear, if they do have a question or need to talk to a person, there is a phone number here that they can call. That person will answer the questions, but if they want to become a student, they will redirect them back to the website to get started with the program. Or in some cases, they'll just very simply ask them the questions on the phone and complete the form while they've got them there. And then this starts a process that we have built in. And the form's very simple. There's nothing complicated about this. Name, phone, email. I need to learn English. I need a high school diploma. I'm under 18 and I need a high school diploma. And if they choose, I need to learn English, we're going to ask them what their language that they currently speak is. If they're interested in career training, they'll go over to the career training page and go through a different doorway. And so the journey continues down that pathway. And then these each have their own process that they go through. But that's a way to sort of make it simple and clear. I don't know if you've ever gone into to look for something or to buy something and you talk to a salesperson and the salesperson gives you like 25 different things about a product or choices, and you walk away from that conversation and you're like, I know less about what I should do next than I did when I arrived. My caution and having been involved in marketing and outreach and communications with schools and businesses and nonprofits is to keep it very clear and simple. The less amount of steps and pathways that people have to take, the better for them to engage with what you have to offer. And that's a key ingredient right there. We
Neil, there
Yeah.
are a couple
Mhm.
questions, and I know you've touched
Oh,
on it a
good.
little bit about ranking higher on Google and increasing your ranking
Mhm.
on Google. And so to kind of follow up on that question, one of the things that I've always suggested to people is make sure that they claim their business on Google. So can
Yeah,
you talk
yeah.
about that a little bit and ranking higher on Google?
Yes. Yeah. So I haven't done this search before. So Christine, we'll see what we get here. Michigan City Adult Education. Let's see what comes up. So is that you guys, Christine? AKS Career Center? Hold on, you're muted. Do you mind unmuting for a second? I think you're still muted, Christine.
I'm trying to ask her to unmute and it's not working for some reason.
Oh, no.
There she goes.
There it is.
Adult education. Okay. Try it. Yeah, that's it. Let me see.
Yeah. So these
Career Center.
these are the Google listings right here. This is
Okay,
what's
Career
called
Center.
Google My Business. All right. So if let's just say I click on the high school here, this little listing on the map is sort of representing
It's
that.
the Career Center.
Right.
Career Center.
That is you guys.
We're
Okay.
in the Career Center, so let's see what happens.
Okay, you're in there, yeah, and that's a common. There's a number of models that work. They're either in a school and a career center, and then occasionally on their own. Right, most adult ed in Indiana falls into one of those three buckets, and all of that. It looks like here you've got a page on the site.
Okay.
What I see missing though is your Google My Business listing for your program. I don't see that, so I'll give you an example that I know. So Wayne Township Adult Education. See this on the right here? This is the Google listing. And why is that important? Because Google gives you a free directory listing for your program. Doesn't cost you a cent. And not that they'll say this, but I really feel like it puts them higher up in your potential rankings with them. Paid attention to something that they've provided for free.
Okay.
And so how do you get that? If there nothing exists out there, how do you actually get that? You go to business.google.com. business.google.com. And of course I'm logged in, so all my ones are already there, but it's going to ask you to create an account, and then it's going to ask you questions. It's going to ask you questions about your business, really. So I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so this is what you would see. And you'll click Manage Now. and you'll just answer all the questions they ask. And they're going to ask you to log in if you have an account, which I don't. But the bottom line is setting this up is really important, because it is a free asset to your program. And so you know, if you're part of Region 4, I would, every little area, I would do it for every community. You know, Kokomo, adult education, boom. And then in there, they'll ask you to give the area that you represent, Michigan City, adult education, so on, so that you have a presence out there that when somebody does a search, if your website doesn't show up yet, your Google listing will. And Google will even tell you every month how many calls and how many different things have happened as a result of that listing right there. Plus, you can get reviews of your program, which are valuable. All this can be done through this, and that's a really important thing. So you're right, Jen, that's a key piece on all of that. So I would definitely make that a priority. And then I would say the next best thing, second thing, is make sure your website is top notch and truly is your website with your URL, not buried. And, you know, I can certainly help. We've helped a lot of programs get out of a school website or school system website and that sort of thing and get on their own 2 feet. Make sure that happens, and that make sure that that website is set up well for the programs you have. Those are the big keys to get there. And then it just depends on how many others are also competing for those same searches. And there's some research that can go in that can sort of help you with that. But, you know, I have a tool that I add into my browser, but there are 210 searches a month for Wayne Township adult education now. So if there was nothing here, no listing, no website, no Facebook account, where would they go? They might go to a district website and then have to try to find their way through all the pages to get to the right one. But having your own thing set up makes it a million times easier for students to connect in. And that's what you want to achieve. So you got we've talked about 2 different things today. We've talked about reaching out to attract people into your program. And then we've talked about people who are looking. You don't know who they are. They don't know you exist, maybe, or they don't know how to get a hold of you, but they would love to connect with your program. And so having both sides of that covered is a really important thing. And certainly we can talk more about what that should look like, talk about, you know, things that we would put in a website that would be helpful and stuff like that. But, you know, with a bunch of you here, we've already done that process, especially those from Lara. We've gone through that, built stuff out and got you all set up for that. So, well, I think we're about time to wrap up today. Was there anything else that jumped in to chat?
Janet and Joan, if there's anything else that would help with your ranking on Google, you can certainly throw it in chat now if you like, and we'll make sure we answer it. I know you were the 2 that hit on it. I think the Google Your Business is so not utilized for so many, and it is something that allows you to put your website out there, get it all out there. And the problem really is, what are our students, what are those potential people actually searching? And perhaps that is a topic for next time.
Yep.
Because I get that a lot, is people are they still utilizing GED? Because it was used for 40 years and therefore it's ingrained in others, it's in the mind. So maybe that's a topic for next time. If you have any other topics, you can throw them in the chat. Neil has put his email address in there as a follow-up if you want to email him on it. We will go ahead and put this on our YouTube channel so that if you want to go back and view, I will send it out to everyone that was on the call as well. Actually, let me just send it to the entire membership because it is useful information.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And a preview for next time. If you look at the screen right now, there are 18,100 searches a month in the United States for GED classes. So if you are not using GED language because you know it's changed, you're missing out potentially on students who are looking for GED because that's what they know, or that's what their parents told them to search for with that. So,
well, the problem there is, Neil, the state doesn't want them to utilize the term GED. So that has always been a hiccup.
It is, but that's the gap that's out there. If you don't use it, they won't find you.
Yeah, find a way to.
I have a strategy for that. I have an idea.
All
So
right.
we can talk about that next time, but that's a good one because you know, GED is, and it's still used in some parts of the country. We do have a client that uses that phrase still, and so you know that's a thing. But see, if you look for that, again, it knows where I am. But you know, Wayne Township, we've got that set up so it shows up for that, and that's what we'd want for your program as well.
It looks like there are a couple follow-up questions about using HSE/GED.
Yeah.
Let me get back to you on that as far as what the guidelines are as far as the state
Yeah.
goes. And
Yep.
then the majority of inquiries received a reference to GED. Yes, because it is so ingrained in the
And
mind.
Jen, look here, DWD shows up for GED.
Yeah.
They did it the way I would suggest, and that is you include the phrase GED in a sentence saying it has been replaced by the GED has been replaced by the HSE. You include the phrase in there.
Yes, and that has
Anyway.
been the go around from the very beginning is constantly, and some people took it out, I know, but like in the beginning, whenever I first changed everything, it was replacing, you know, this
Yeah.
replaced the GED. So we don't have to take it out. We know that people have to get reminded constantly
Yeah.
over
And-
and over again.
What Abby said, I think that's a good way of putting it. Okay to say HSE and in brackets previously GED, that sort of thing. Yes. But anyway, there's things there that can come into play, but it's all about finding the students where they are at.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the big thing. Where are they? And let's go find them and attract them in and have a good process in place to get them started.
Well, thank you so much, Neil. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody else
Great.
on the
Good.
call did as well. If you want to give him a big thumbs up or a applause via clap with the reactions, just to show your appreciation, go ahead and chat something in the email or
Yeah,
the
you're
chat
welcome.
feature as you like. Awesome, guys. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time with,
Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Thursdays.
month. We'll see you next month.
all right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.